Hello everyone, Marc Daniel Patrick here, musical theater coach. Thank you so much for taking time to check out the channel. Don't forget to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you can find me on Instagram at Marc Daniel Patrick or my website, which I promise you is launching very, very soon, at marcdanielpatrick.com. It's Wednesday, so I thought it's a great opportunity to do a second episode of some Q&As. So here we go. First up is Mark's Escondo, who says, I always get nervous before coming on stage. I get the excitement and hype, but sometimes I feel like I'm overthinking it and getting anxious, which is kind of overwhelming at times. I mean, I know it's natural and all, but is there a way to lessen the nervousness at all, or at least control it? It's really a great question, and there are so many stories of really famous actors who had the same nervous episodes where they're just violently ill before they even go on stage. Those of you who are in theater, you know what it feels like. For those of you who are not, who have always been in the audience, the amount of adrenaline and the excitement and the anxiety that you get just before, when that overture starts, when the curtain goes up, just before everything starts, it sometimes can be pretty debilitating. So to get through that and talk your body down from it is quite a difficult task at times. For me, it was always, I would show up 2 or 3 hours before a performance and I would do a whole workout actually like in the auditorium. So I'd be running up and down the aisles, doing stretches. I would have a cool down with sitting about, mid-range, actually in the audience, center stage, and just visualizing the performance on stage. And I would do that for a good 30 minutes. I would just sit there and kind of take in the whole performance and visualize myself on stage. And that seemed to help. Honestly, it all comes down to preparation. If you are prepared, if you've done the hard work and put in the time and effort beforehand, you'll get on stage and instinct will take over and just your natural ability and talent will take over, I promise you. But there's really no way to ever shake that nervousness in the beginning. It's kind of there for a reason, and you should have that because the stakes are so high just before you go on stage. But hopefully it's not too debilitating for you, but it is supposed to be there. And honestly, just preparation, being ready for it, and being ready for each show every night is going to help you tackle that. Next up, Alyssa Lane says, a question for you, a singer who can act or an actor who can sing? I prefer the latter by far. Thanks. Yeah, I think, Alyssa, there's no secret, on this channel, I will always give higher marks to those who can sell me on their acting ability before they even open their mouth to sing. That's just where I lean, really. I mean, in this business, though, triple threat performer exists for a reason. You're supposed to be at the highest level in all 3 disciplines, so that's really what you're aiming for a Broadway career is to be at the top of your game in acting, singing, and dancing, of course. For me, I would look at it a little bit differently. I would just say it's all dependent on approach. So if you're coming into a performance or a certain number and you're thinking about it from a musical place first rather than an acting place first, that's where I prefer one over the other. I prefer a performer who's going to approach it for telling the story and really getting to the heart of the character before you make that, that high B flat sound gorgeous, right? That's just 100% a preference thing. I would much rather watch an actor on stage, feeling the character, breaking down and really telling a story rather than singing so beautifully, right? Perfection doesn't exist for a reason, and so hitting that perfect note every time is not really that obtainable. But going up there and having an experience and having an epiphany of through your character or finding a different beat or finding a different moment in the story each and every night, that might not be considered perfect, but it is absolutely doable every single night to find something new in your character and find a way to tackle that. So for me, it really all just comes down to approach. I would much rather have my performers approaching it from an acting and storytelling point rather than something that's beautifully sung. But great question. Next up, Elizabeth McClellan says, what would you recommend for people with weird voice types? I'm a 13-year-old female baritone and I find it hard to find parts that I can play, even though I'm great at acting and dancing. Well, Elizabeth, at 13 years old, I would encourage you to continue to test yourself in your acting skills and really maybe find a coach or find some ways to really hone those skills, because that can help you very much in the future. In terms of finding parts that you can play for maybe an unusual voice type, I would honestly say use that to your advantage. Something that's a little bit weird or a little bit off the beaten path is sometimes where you find the most beautiful performances, right? There have been a lot of performers who have come up and have something different and have a different sound to offer. I would encourage you to take your favorite repertoire songs and have them transposed into a key that works for you and sell that. Use that to your advantage. It's going to sound different than people are used to. It's going to sound different than people expect. But if you use that to your advantage, and if you have those great acting chops and can really sell the story or sell the point of the song, they really can't knock you for a voice that you really can't change, right? So I would encourage you to get those songs transposed into a key that works for you and a key that still allows you to show off your vocal ability. Hit them with something different and hit them with something they've never heard before. I'll be honest, it's going to be difficult. A lot of, depending on the shows you're in, a lot of mainstream songs and mainstream shows, they're not going to want to transpose out of the original key just because that's what everyone's so used to hearing it. But in terms of auditions and vocal rep and preparation and rehearsing on your own, why not? Put it into your key, learn how to sell the song, and don't be afraid to bring those into an audition and wow them with something that they've never heard before. Next up, Noah Med says, how much input should an actor have for their vision of a character compared to the director? Shows I've taken part in have been entirely director driven, but I wondered how this is done outside of the amateur sphere. It's a great question, Noah, and even as a viewer and a spectator, you're often wondering, was this an acting choice or is this a direction? Things that you liked in a performance and things that maybe failed, who's to blame for either side of those? In answering this question, I'll try to be as concise as I can, but so let's label the two jobs, right? So number one, a job of a director is to make sure everyone in the production is all on the same page and the ship is driving in one direction. Whatever direction that is going to be up to the director. So in that essence, at the end of the day, everything's going to come down to the director. Now, what's the job of an actor? A job of an actor is to take that vision of a director and make it believable and make it come to life on stage. The best actors are going to come in with ideas, with concepts, with decisions already made for their character, and be able to speak to those decisions from an educated and knowledgeable place to have a worthwhile conversation with your director as to why you made these decisions, right? So, and a director may steer you in a totally different direction, and that's fine. That's your job to adapt. But as an actor, you do need to come to the rehearsal process with decisions already made and with some idea in mind of where you want your character to go. So as much as, yes, the show is going to be very director driven, the best directors are going to love those actors who come in with ideas that not challenge the vision, but at least give a slightly different take on it. And if it comes from an educated place, I'm telling you, it will lead to some great conversations in the rehearsal room on where the character should sit and where the overall vision for the show should go. All right, that's all we have for this video. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. Please continue to throw those questions in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and you can find me on Instagram or at my website. And until next time, I'm Marc Daniel Patrick, and thanks so much for watching.